should start with you because I know the majority of your business is based in New York, is New York centered. What is different right now about being an investor than even, say, 2 or 3 years ago?
Well, New York has firmly now established itself as the second largest center of technology in the United States, and then perhaps even in the world. This is technology is not new. Michael Bloomberg is, of course, the biggest tech entrepreneur that the city has known so far. But just the pace of startups, the pace of innovation in the city has really picked up in the past few years, and a whole infrastructure to support entrepreneurs has been built now in the city that is here to stay. It's going to be permanent. We're very much part of it, but all kinds of other people are as well. So you don't need investors coming from Silicon Valley or investors coming from Boston. They are, homegrown, homebred investors now in New York that are
So it's good for young people who want to stay here and work. There's plenty of opportunities.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Very good news to hear. Deven, I know some of your business is here, some of it is on the West Coast, and then you have quite a big chunk that's international. Do you see the same entrepreneurial spirit that Eric just spoke to about here in New York happening in other cities across the world?
Absolutely. We're truly invested on a global basis. Over the last 3 years, we've invested in everywhere from Eastern Europe, Western Europe, China. We've been very, very active in Brazil. I think what's happening in a lot of those places is the same thing that's happening here in New York, which is you really have an ecosystem which really didn't exist 4 or 5 years ago. And some of it is infrastructure, but some of it is also you now have a pool of talent from which to draw. So Facebook's here, Google's here. There's all these companies that these companies can now recruit from that didn't exist.
I'm glad you brought up this idea of an ecosystem because you two play very different roles in the investing community, and it seems to be getting more and more specialized. So Eric, I'm going to go back to you and ask you what is different about being early stage. I imagine it is a lot more hands-on, and then Deven will come back to you and ask you what it is like to be investing a little bit later in a company's life cycle, so to speak, or growth cycle. But what are the most important qualities as an early stage seed investor?
Well, so we invest in companies at the seed level. So typically these companies will have a small founder group, maybe a couple of employees. So maybe it's 4 or 5 people, and they need to get their business established and get going. So what we provide them is all sorts of advice. We're really mentors. We're guides. We're advisors. All of us in our partnership have an operating background as well as an investing background, so we know how.
You've been on the other side. You know how tough it is in the trenches.
It's tough. It takes a village to build a company. It takes a whole ecosystem, and so we roll up our sleeves and go to work for these companies.
What is it like for you then, Deven? So in some ways you're almost picking up after Eric has left off and taking a company to the next level. What is that like to work on now?
Well, the good thing is you know that the product's already been adopted. You already have customers, and now you're really figuring out how to expand what's already has some level of acceptance. But one of the things that we've done is we've actually built a group within Insight called Insight Onsite, which is almost a captive consulting firm for our portfolio companies to help them scale their business. So we've got marketing specialists, operations specialists, finance specialists, R&D specialists that work with these companies to take them from 10 or 15 or 20 million dollars of revenue when we might first invest them to 100 million or beyond. So I think that in the new model, I don't think even if you're a later stage investor, you can't just rely on kind of picking the right business and picking the right market. You have to add value along the way. So we've invested a lot of resources in doing that.
A lot of resources. Eric, I want to ask you a question that's a little bit tricky. Deven, you'll get the same so you can prepare yourself. Do you invest in a person or do you invest in an idea?
We primarily invest in people. Having said that, there's 2 other elements that are really key. One is the idea. We've been investing for over 25 years. I've been in the tech business for all of my career. So I have to have, with myself and my partners, we have to have the gut feel that it's time for this idea. And then the question of timing. Is this the right time? Because people have had YouTube ideas back in the late 90s, but there was no broadband then, so there was no way that YouTube could have been established. So timing is very important. If you set that aside, then what's all important is the team. Are these the right people? Do they have the right qualities? What's in their background that indicates that they can do this? And will you be able to work with them?
Deven, I see you're shaking your head there with this idea of the team. I mean, even though you're coming in at a later stage, they still have to be moldable and coachable, I assume.
And sometimes you have to transition the team to take the company to the next level. But so by the time they get to us, generally there's some basic quality team there because they got to us. They got their business a certain amount of scale. And then so one of the other things that we really focus on is the actual market. And I think Warren Buffett said it best. If you take a great management team and put it in a bad market, the reputation of the market will stay intact. And so we really want to make sure that we're investing in not only a great team, but also a market that we think has got significant growth potential.
Speaking of growth potential, Eric, one thing I'm curious about is there's tons of seed activity, and it seems tons of entrepreneurs, you said it yourself, this is so vibrant right now. What is the competition like for you? Do you have to make decisions faster about backing a company? Are you worried about another firm getting an entrepreneur's attention?
Not really. I think that there's too much time spent talking about this very issue of too much money, too much competition in the VC world. We don't feel it. We've always been quick decision makers in seed. Your decision.
So how long does it take you?
It takes 2 to 3 weeks.
Okay, that's
basically.
very quick.
Yes,
yeah.
exactly. And because you don't do financial due diligence, you don't do research and analysis, you're basically spending time with the team, figuring out whether you're going to like them.
Devin, is there too much money chasing too few good ideas out there?
Look, there's clearly a lot of capital out there, but I think what we're finding is that it's a big world, and one of the reasons you're seeing us invest, 40% of our fund is being invested globally, is we're seeing those opportunities globally. And if you go into those global markets, there's not close to as much the amount of capital as you see here. So the way we look at it, our market size is really not just the U.S., it's the entire world. And so in that context, yes, the markets are competitive, but we think the market size is big enough that we're still able to find very interesting opportunities.
Speaking of interesting opportunities, Birchbox, Bobble Bar, these are just two that you are invested in now. Are there certain qualities that you feel like unite, in your mind, the companies that you're willing to invest in? Do they have shared characteristics?
Again, it's all about the founding team, and do you see yourself still investing with them, still working with them a year, 2 years down the road? Are they going to be hanging in there? It's going to be tough. There's going to be challenges. There will be setbacks. New competitors will appear. All kinds of things will be thrown at these people. Will they be steady? Will they be, no matter what happens? So that's the characteristic, and I think the companies that you've just mentioned have proven that they've been able to go from an idea to substantial businesses.
Eric, before we let you go, we just want to ask you, former director at Yahoo, do you think the CEO keeps his job?
I have no idea. I would rather not comment on Yahoo.
One thing I would like to ask as a follow-up, though, I can understand not wanting to comment on Thomson's future. What about the company itself? A lot of smart people have been working there for years, but as people here in this room acknowledge, Yahoo's really lost its way. Is there a comeback story here for the company?
Absolutely. Yahoo is still very much a beloved company. The employees who are there are very passionate about the business. It still has 700 million unique users every month. A lot of people use their services. So when you see a situation like this, you just have to put the right management team in place and it can be fixed.
But the takeaway for you is it's salvageable.
Absolutely.
Okay, there you have it. Eric Kibal joining us there, Lair Ventures. Deven Parekh, thank you so much. Insight Venture Partners. We are going to take a very quick break, but when we come back, we're going to be joined by another investor. She has 25 years of venture cap experience both in Hong Kong and New York combined. She is going to tell us what she thinks is hot right now. Later on, we're also going to be speaking with the founder of PetFlow. It's a website. If you have a dog, you can just go on, order the food. It arrives at your door just like that. Obviously, the founder says it is better than the famous flameout pets.com. He is going to tell us